Hi everyone, Neon here. So today we're going to go over some gameplay mechanics, and really we're just going to be adding in moving platforms and enemies and also collectibles, so like coins and stuff like that. I already did a tutorial on that, but since it's relevant to this, I'll show off how to do it in this video. We're also going to be doing some bug fixes. So we're going to be messing around with this, and in this video I'm going to merge the advanced and intermediate changes because we're going to be changing the player just a tiny amount. So when I do make changes to the player, I will put the changes side by side of the video and mark it like that so it's visible. But alright, so let's get started. First off, what we're going to want to do is we're going to make the platform. So let's turn on our grid snap, and then we will go into the sculpt mode. And basically we just want to make a flat plane, and in order to do that we are just going to hold down L1 and square, and this is going to go into edit shape, and we're just going to shrink it down so it is flat. And we can also make our grid smaller, like finer, and now we have a nice looking platform. And we are going to hold down L1 and triangle to change the stamp mode so we're not smearing it. And then once we get that placed, we are going to exit the sculpt mode, and then immediately after we are going to enter sculpt mode again, and we're just going to make a really small cube. Doesn't really matter what it looks like. We're just going to use this to make a group so this can move with an animation. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to open up the properties panel of the cube we just made, and we are going to set the physical properties of it to be invisible, so you remove the visible section, and the collidable, we're going to turn that off. So now under physical properties, which is the Newton's cradle, I'm going to turn off visibility, and we're going to turn off collidable. Now we're going to make a group by grabbing the platform, hovering over the cube, and then making a group by holding down L1 and then pressing X. And now this will move as one. And what you want to do is you want to make sure you're scoped into this group you made. You will be scoped in by default when you make a new group. And we are going to get out a microchip, and we're going to snap it to our platform. Not the small cube, but the platform. You can go ahead and customize it if you want. So I'm gonna add a, let's see here, ground. No, we'll do a controller for gameplay. Change the color, and this is gonna be called platform. Alright, and we're gonna open this up with L1 and X, and from here, what we're going to do is we're going to get a timeline under animate, and in this timeline we're going to get about 3 keyframes. So we're going to have one at 1, and we're going to grab the platform, and then we're going to just stop recording. So now that we have this keyframe, this is going to be our middle point. So we actually want this here at the 1 second so we can have a looping animation. And in order to do that, we are going to open the timeline properties and set it to loop. So it's going to go to the end and then to the beginning again. So what we do from here is we're going to copy the keyframe left to 0 and copy the keyframe right to 2. And then for the 0 keyframe, we're going to record a new position by holding down L1 and pressing X to open the keyframe. And then we're going to drag the platform left a little bit. Let's see. Let's count it so it's even on both sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright? And then we are going to do the 2 keyframe, and we're going to do 4 notches in the other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is going to give us a motion of going from the left to the right, and we're going to want to make sure we actually set these keyframes to either be linear, or you're going to do an alternating, I think, or we're going to do ease both. No, not ease both, but we're going to do ease out for the first one, and then ease in for the second one. Let's see how that looks. Oh, we have it backwards. So we're going to want to do ease in and then ease out. Let's see. Yeah. That looks good to me. Seems a little bit fast, but that still looks good. So now, in order to get it to loop, we are going to place our middle keyframe. We're going to make a copy by holding down L1 and R2, and we're going to place it at 3 seconds. And we want to make the ease in, I believe. Yeah, we want it to make ease in transition, and then we want to copy the first keyframe to 4 seconds, and that's going to be ease out. Alright, and now we're going to limit the length of the timeline all the way down to 4 seconds. So now we just have a animation that plays and loops. So now we hit play, it should go between the 2 points, and it's going to loop back and forth. Now you might say, oh, that's a little too fast. Well, you can turn down the playback speed. Now I'm not sure, but let's see. I think the simple one, whoa, where'd it go? Is it invisible? I think this may be invisible. Oh, that's visible. Oh, this isn't visible. Okay, so yeah, you want the group to be visible, and the individual small cube inside to be invisible. I think it set the entire group to be invisible. And then you're going to want to set the group's label to be an object as well. And we don't want it to be movable. And the reason why we have this cube here is because normally when you do this keyframed animation, if you move it around, it's not going to move relative to where it used to be. It's going to always do that position that you set up. So if you keyframed an object to be right here and it's not in a group, it's always going to be right here. So now that we have this group here, we can just move it actually, and we can move it wherever we want, and the animation will follow. And now we're going to go into play mode, and let's see how this works out. Oh, look at that. It doesn't move the player with it. Now, in order to fix this, we are going to use a force applier. And a force applier applies a force to an object. And depending on how you set this up, it may differ. This number that I'm going to use, I found from experimenting. And I'm not sure, but it may be different for the intermediate version, so I will put that over if it is. But let's see here. We're going to get a speed sensor, movement sensor, I mean, and we're going to use this, and we're going to output our velocity of the x-axis, and we're going to put this on a force multiplier to the speed. So let's see here, and that's going to multiply it, and we're going to set this to 2 meters a second with 100% force strength, I believe. And we want it to be a directional force, and we want it to be a cube in the size, the shape. We're just going to shrink that down, and we're going to make it so it applies the force only to objects that are touching it from above. Alright, that looks pretty good to me. That's pretty lenient. And what we're going to want to do here is we're only going to want to be applying it to friends. So that way we're not trying to push ourselves. And it has to be visible, and it can be collidable or not collidable. Because our custom, not the custom, but the advanced one is not collidable, but this one is collidable. And nothing that isn't collidable, it doesn't really matter. So now I believe at 100% strength and 2% meters a second, it should work. Well, 2 meters a second, and you're going to want to multiply or modulate the force speed by the velocity in the x-axis, and that's from the movement sensor, and it goes out into the force speed of the force applier. And in order to change the mode, it's L1 and X on the input. And we're going to want to push, and it's going to be directional force. So let's try that out now. May need to adjust it, not sure. Nope, look at that. Perfect. Now it's pushing the character above it with ease. And that's going to work for the advanced, or the intermediate, and the regular one, or the beginner one. Alright, now here comes the part that we're going to have to diverge a little bit. I believe we're going to start with the beginner. So you may be asking yourself, well, this is cool and all, but what if I want my character to be able to jump through the object or the moving platform? Well, we're going to have to make a little bit of a modification first to this. We want to go to the collision labels, and we're going to turn off collision with friend. And in the sculpture, we're also going to do that in here. And now we should be able to... I don't know if this is a bug or not, or if it's intended behavior, but this is set up to collide with objects. So, yeah, okay. So I have no idea if that's a bug or not, but it just seems a little bit strange. I actually had to reshoot a little bit of footage because of this, but hey, it's fine. Alright. Now, in our jumping microchip that we made before, what we're going to do is we have our signal manipulator right here, and I think... So, we have our signal manipulator, and we are going to attempt to use it as a way to detect when we've jumped. And only for a little bit, not forever. So we're going to take a keyframe, and once it starts recording, we're going to go into the properties panels of our sculpture here, which is the player, go over to the collision labels, and we're going to turn off object. That way, our player cannot collide with the platform when we are jumping. So now, in order to do that, we are going to take a calculator, and we are going to Open the properties panel, change it to greater than, hook up the signal manipulator to the A port, and on the bottom, for now, we're going to use 0. So that means while we still have the mover power, so while we're still going up, we're going to allow no collisions with the platform. Let's try this out. Wow, would you look at that? That works perfectly fine. Great. Alright, and now I'm going to be doing this for the advanced. Alright, we're back again. And now we have our advanced stuff, and you can see we're not going to be able to jump up through this platform. So what we're going to do is we are going to make it so when we jump, we're going to disable our collider for a little bit. So we're just going to extend this microchip out a little bit. And one thing we want is we are never, ever, ever, or at least right now, we're not going to be colliding with the platform above us. And so if a platform comes down, it'll act as an elevator for us, basically. So we're going to change this to be not colliding with objects, up. And then for our left and right and down, what we're going to want to do is we are going to get a button and or a switch, that's what they're called, and we're going to name it a no collisions, or yeah, no collisions with object. And once you have that, we are going to plug this into our thing right here. We're going to open up all 3 of our trigger zones other than up, so 3 of them, and we're going to go over the tags, and actually we're going to call this collision with objects, not no. And this is going to plug into the object field of each of these trigger zones. We're also going to plug it into our down raycast. Alright, so now we will not collide when that button is turned off. So what we can do is open up our jump microchip, and we're going to do the same thing we did with the simple one. So when it's greater than 0, we are going to animate that button to be off. So now, the reason why we turned off the left and right is because we want to be able to move through this when we jump up. There we go. Now, since we made this jump a bit higher, I think, let's see here. Yeah, this is 1.5 seconds, so let's change this down to 0.5 seconds, like the basic one. Or if you want, you can keep it at 1.5 or whatever number you want, and you can lower the greater than symbol. Alright, so that's going to give us a nice platform that we can stand on and makes us move with it. And yeah, can jump up through it. Now the only conceivable thing that I can think that could go wrong with this is if you have your object too close to another object that you want the player to collide with, then you would probably be able to phase through that as well. But you can fix that by changing the labels to whatever you want so it doesn't conflict, basically. Alright, now let's move on to enemies. So, with enemies, what you're going to want to do is we're going to get our sculpt mode. I'm going to make it small baby boy. Alright, that seems good enough. I'm going to move it onto here. Now this is kind of like beginner, advanced. It's a little bit of both. There's not really a way to do this other than what I'm doing now, unless you just want to do an animation, but that's not fun now, is it? So we're gonna have a smart dude. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a trigger zone out, and we are gonna get a laser scope out, which is also known as a raycast. And we want 2 of these each, at least for now. So I'm going to set up this trigger zone, and we're going to have it so it's only just jutting out of the right side. So we're going to name this R for right. And I think what we're going to want to do is have this center point in the middle. That's going to make it a bit easier on us. And I gotta name it R again, because I undid. Then we can change the zone size and make it a bit simpler. Okay, so 0.1, I guess. Then we're going to move this down. And then, of course, C as well. Alright. And then we can move this to where we want. And that's going to be on its right side. And we're going to make this have no collisions, and we're going to make it have no gravity, because this guy is going to be pretty smart. But if you do want it to have gravity, and you don't want it to be smart, you can apply some of these logic tools that we're doing and give it gravity with just a mover, and make it so when it doesn't detect ground underneath it, it goes down. But for this, we are going to be a smart boy, so he's like a Koopa Troopa. And we are going to take this left one, we're going to rename this L, and we're going to position the box on the left side, just jutting out. It looks good to me. And then we're going to take one of these laser scopes, and we are going to move it inside. And one thing that we need to do is we need to set the labels. So we're going to make this guy a foe, and we're going to set the labels for all of these to not detect foe. And also for detection mode, we want collidable only. Alright. No foe. So now the raycast is going to be able to go through the player. And what we need this raycast for is we want to detect if there's going to be no ground. You can do this with a box collider as well. I just prefer using raycasts for this because you get more control, like get angles and stuff like that. So we're going to copy this over, and we're going to flip this. Oop. So 180 degrees, rotate it. And I have the precise movement on, so I was able to rotate these with degrees. So now we have a laser scope on the left and a laser scope on the right. And what this is going to do is this edge, we're going to make it so we can't fall off. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to get a combiner, and we're going to get a switch or selector. Yeah, selector, that's what you want. And we're going to hook up A to be negative, so he goes left by default, and B to positive, so he goes right when it switches. And now what we can do is we're going to get 2 NOT gates, and we're going to hook up the NOT gate from the laser scopes, or the laser scopes into the NOT gates. And these not gates we're going to plug into move to next output. And the trigger zone detected, we're going to plug that into move to next output. So if we hit something, we're going to try to go the other way, and if we are about to fall off an edge, we're going to go the other way. So now we're going to get a move route. And just to be sure, I want to see, yeah, we want to ignore gravity. So that way we don't have any issues with the ground, especially since this guy isn't going to fall. And we're going to plug in this combiner into the forward speed. And you know what, we might as well make this guy not movable. Yeah, okay. Collidable, he's not collidable either. And so this mover is going to be going right. And let's see how that looks. We need to turn up that dampening and maybe turn down the speed a little bit. Okay. That's a little too slow. Turn up the strength. There we go. Now let's see if this works. We go left now. And when we hit that wall, we're gonna go... What? Oh. What? Oh, we forgot to set up the detection mode. You gotta set it to label, and we want to detect basically only scenery. So that would be the trigger zones. We're gonna want them to detect scenery. Alright, now we're going the other way. Nice. Okay, so now we have this little enemy. He doesn't hurt you yet, but we can change that. So we're going to go into the player, and this is standard between the basic and the intermediate one. So we can just do this on either. And we're going to get a health manager out and plug in. We're going to take the no health and we're going to plug that into die. And 100 health, that seems fine. Okay. And so now we are going to open this guy and we're going to get a health modifier. I'm going to set this to only hurt friends. And in this case, that would be their foes. A foe's foe is a friend. Okay, and we're going to set this to zone. And we're setting it to zone and not touching it because we want to be able to jump on top of it to kill it. So we're going to do cube. I'm going to set this to the middle, close to it. And I'm going to shrink the zone size quite a bit. That's X. Y, Z, more on the X, more, just a little more, 0.2, that seems good. Alright, Y, we're going to want to lower that quite a bit, and we're going to lower this so only when he touches it from the sides or he falls through it enough, he'll hit it. So really, instead of that, we want to lower this as much as possible. So now he's only able to get hit from the bottom, basically. So it's a very slim chance that falling on top of it at high speed will cause you to die from this guy. And you can do per hit, continuous, you can make it so he has actual health, but usually in these kind of games he'll die instantly. Unless he has an upgrade, which in that case, we can change his max health to be higher. And with that, we are going to want this guy to be able to die. So we're going to get a destroyer, and we're going to copy one of these trigger zones, and we are going to rotate it 90 degrees so it is long ways on the top, and we're going to move this guy up, and we're going to give it plenty of extra space, and we are going to shrink the edges so walking into him and you dying doesn't cause him to die, because we don't have a respawn system for him right now. So this is we're gonna call this player death or kill me, I guess. Kill me works. There it is. Alright. And let's see here. We want it to be friends, not scenery. And it can be both, because remember, the advanced one does not collide, but the basic one does. And we're going to plug this into the destroyer. Alright, now we should be able to die from this. Okay, we didn't die from it. Why was that? This health modifier labels... because we need to set the detection mode to both instead of just collidable. Because I'm using the advanced one right now, and then I die, but he also dies. So let's shrink that hitbox even more for him. It's going to be a pretty small one. Gonna get it just right, don't ya? Alright. Move it a little bit more to the center. Alright. So now he kills me. And then let's kill him. Oh. See, so now we should shrink this hit zone even smaller. Maybe even putting it like around a bit. Alright, let's try that. Alright. So we can make his hitbox even bigger on the top. There we go. That looks good. Hopefully that works. I'm also probably going to make this character a bit faster. There we go. Because he's kind of a bit too slow for me. This is not the right one. This jump, blah blah blah. So this is the movement. So in here it is. Yeah, he's a bit too slow. Let's make him a bit faster. Alright. There we go. Cool. And just to make sure, does he kill us still? Yep. Great. Cool. So now we got a little nice enemy right there. And you don't have to have this be a damage thing. In fact, if you want to have like a per hit system, what we can do here is you can use this, but instead of detecting, well, you could have the hitbox of this, so you can make this with a trigger zone and hook that up to detect the label or even a tag, and then when the label is detected, and you can do that in here, detected, so if this is detected or the tag that you set up is detected, you could subtract from the amount of hits you have, which you could have a counter or anything like that, but that's up to you. I like this style. Alright, so one last thing we're going to do, and that's going to be just a coin display, and this is going to be pretty fast, so try to keep up. So we're going to place a microchip, and then we're going to get a number displayer, and we are going to position it like in the upper left corner, I guess, and we're not going to style it. And then we are going to get two methods of doing this. So I'm going to get a variable, and a score. And the score is under gameplay gear, and the variable is under logic and processing. And then we can get a score modifier to see if I only need the score. So if you want the score to be permanent, then you can do both of these. Like, for example, if you want coins as currency and also the score, you can do this. So we can actually just have this as your score in general. So just score, that's fine. And then for this, it can be coins. Alright, and then we are going to get a coin. We're going to look in the Dreamverse. Gonna get this out. Oh, look at that. He has some nice, pretty moving logic for us already. So it's going to spin up and down like that. Alright. And what we want to do is we're going to get a tag on him, and we're going to make sure he's not collidable. Not a tag, but we're going to get a trigger zone. And I'm going to make it pretty small. You can put it on a microchip if you want. I don't, because I'm lazy right now. And we're going to detect a possessed controller sensor. That could work. Or you can do labels, but we're going to stick with the possessed controller sensor because I know that works. And we're going to put a destroyer on it so it dies when it's detected. And we're also going to put a variable modifier and a score modifier. And we're going to open up the variable and the score modifier, and we're going to do add, and we're going to change the operation value to 1. And we're going to have the update type when powered on, and we're going to do that for both of these. And for the variable modifier, you're going to want to make sure you set the variable name to coins. And the score name of the score modifier to be whatever score you have it. I just have it set to score. And we're going to hook these up to... We're going to hook up the trigger zone to all three of these gadgets we put on here. So now, when we collect that, this coins and score variable should go up. It's not detecting us. Maybe, I'm not sure. Yeah, it doesn't appear to be detecting us. Maybe if we make it bigger. Name to detect. Oh, you know what? It's because we said it wasn't collidable. Yep. So what I just did there is I went to the labels and I changed it to both for the detection mode because I'm using an advanced one that doesn't have collision. There we go. And in order for it to display, we're just going to hook up, we're going to copy this number displayer, bring it down. So now we have 2, and this one, we're going to have the current value and the coins, and we're going to output to the number displayer and in the score. Current score. Alright. And we're going to move this guy back to the start. And you know what? Let's be cool, and let's add the score modifier to the bad guy as well. So it goes up by, let's do 100. When you kill an enemy, you get 100. If you collect a coin, that's 1. But you also get the coin as like a currency value. So now when we kill this guy, get 100 score, pick up that, and we get 1 coin and 101 score. Great. So that's about it for the gameplay tutorial. You can go ahead and tweak everything from here. If you have any other suggestions for gameplay that you would want to see in this series, let me know. And yeah, that would be about it. Thank you all for watching. Have a nice rest of your night or day. Bye-bye.